G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode. I do hope you enjoy, so I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and let's get right into it. I hate what my newborn has done to my life. New dad here. I need to rant and I have nowhere else to go. It's been 3.5 weeks since we gave birth to our first child. I am now the most miserable numb I have ever been in my entire life, and numb to everything around me. Nothing gives me joy anymore, and I've lost any sense of purpose. My wife and I were always planning on having kids, planning to start trying in a few years, but got bored during the pandemic and accidentally got pregnant. If I knew what my life would be like now, I would have never had a baby. One could say everything with the pregnancy went as good as we could have possibly asked for. Optimistic mummies and daddies would call it the greatest gift and tell us how we are so lucky that we had an easy time getting pregnant and a smooth pregnancy. And although my wife had to have a C-section because the baby was too large, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy, and I hate everything about him and what he has done to our lives. I hate the constant 24/7 attention. I hate the seemingly never-ending screaming. I hate how useless he is. He just eats, shits, cries, and sleeps all day. I hate that he put my wife and her body through 9 months of torture and now months of slow post-birth recovery. I hate that I no longer have free time for myself. I hate that I don't get any alone time with my wife and our dogs. I hate that we haven't been intimate in weeks. I hate that even if we were to try and be, we can't be, because the baby needs constant attention. I hate that we moved out of the city that we lived in for more space and have a more flexible, car-dependent lifestyle. I hate that my wife and I sleep in separate bedrooms because I'm a miserable, grouchy F if I'm woken up 4 times throughout the night. And I didn't realize how irrationally angry and triggered I would get by uncontrollable newborn screaming. Everyone told me being a parent is so great, but I just don't think it is. It seems effing miserable. I don't want to do this for the next 18 years. I can't believe that I now get joy out of running errands and getting out of the house that I pay for each month. And I am happiest now that I am back at work and not focused on being a caretaker. Of course, I also work from home because of COVID, so I don't ever really get to escape. I'm tired, I'm annoyed, I get no pleasure spending time with my kid, nothing feels rewarding, and although I help my wife as much as I can after I wrap up work, I feel a constant sense of guilt that she is doing the heavy lifting. Ironically, I should be happy. I'm further in my career than I ever could imagine at my age. I am financially stable, have no real issues, and have a generally flexible and comfortable lifestyle. But I am so effing over this phase of my life. I feel like I want to fast forward to the time when this kid is at daycare all day and daydream about moving back to where our parents live so they can watch the baby all day. But they live on the other side of the country, and this would be devastating to my career. It has been 4 weeks that feels like 4 months, and I just want to be happy again. And now in the comments, I mean, I can identify with a lot of what you wrote. It's a transition period for most and requires adjustment. One small note though, he didn't do anything to your wife's body. She is not a victim in this, and neither are you. Those are some pretty powerful emotions you're pointing at your son, and they don't do anyone any good. Also, side note, but barring actual medical conditions, mum's bodies bounce back a lot quicker than you think. Granted, she isn't going to be back to pre-birth form, but hale, hearty, and healthy is usually right around the corner. If it was a C-section, sure, there's some incisions and stitches to heal. How is she doing? And OP replies, fair. It isn't his fault, but it's easier to blame him than me right now for my unhappiness. Mum's hanging in. She's a lot more patient than I am. Look, OP, give it time. I bonded with my daughter slowly at first, but that was mostly because my wife and mother took over until my wife went back to work. As soon as it was the 2 of us at night alone, we bonded faster. There were still some bumps in the road, but they grew further and further apart and much less noticeable. I went through the same thing with my daughter. The first couple of weeks, I was absolutely wrecked by sleep deprivation and on edge about this new life that I was supposed to feel responsibility and unconditional love for. When I didn't feel that, I just retreated into myself and started to feel resentment towards the baby. Finally, I talked to the nurse about it, and she said I was probably suffering from a potential postpartum depression exacerbated by a lack of sleep. She more or less ordered me to sleep separately from my wife and child for a week and see if that helped. My wife was coping much better than me. After I got to sleep through the week, the feelings of resentment started to fade, and I was just left with a bad conscience for not helping my wife out during the night, but the numbness stayed for a while. The nurse suggested that I do some of the other chores with the baby to compensate for not helping out at night, like bathing her, changing diapers, taking care of her in the morning to let my wife sleep in, etc. This would also help me bond with her. Today, my daughter is 5 years old, and thinking back on looking at her, not feeling a thing brings tears to my eyes. I love her more than I love life itself, and I would happily throw myself in front of a truck if it meant saving her life. So, know that it's not uncommon to feel like you do. It's an adjustment period, and meanwhile, the sleep deprivation hurts your brain and turns you numb. My advice is basically the same that the nurse gave us. Get some sleep and try to do stuff with the baby. Bonding takes time, but before that happens, chores feel unbearable and annoying. The first phase is tough, and tiredness makes it feel like it goes on forever. I know it's hard, but try and keep in mind that it will pass and it will get better. Every time you do chores for the baby, you actually get a little stronger, a little better at being a dad, even if you can't feel it. But eventually, you'll have adjusted to your new life, and you will find strength within you to do whatever it takes to make your little one happy. By the way, don't listen to anybody telling you to just suck it up. That made me feel like I was less of a man for feeling like I did. That helps no one. You're allowed to feel like you do. And back up to the post, there is an edit. Wow. Woke up to an interesting mix of comments from people calling me a selfish idiot who needs to man up, and supportive folks who have gone through similar struggles. I posted this mostly just to vent, and wasn't sure where else I could go. My wife and I are very open. She has similar thoughts, although less regret in what our life was like before and what it is now. I'm still adjusting to all of this, and will take several people's advice to seek out therapy, and quite frankly, just give it time and be more patient. Thank you all for the comments and advice, positive or negative. And now onto the update. Having a kid is a lot of fun actually. It's amazing how much changes in the span of 10 months. I actually forgot I posted this until a commenter asked how things were going now. Anyway, to all the new dads reading this and currently worrying that their lives are over, it gets so much better, I promise. Take it from someone who seriously thought his life was over. I think we had a particularly challenging baby. Colic, restless, not at all calm or enjoyable to be around. I was severely depressed for about 5 months. Reading back on that post, and I can hardly remember the days. The first few months were a blur, but I do remember just how painful the feelings were. At around 6 months in is when it got better. We finally figured out what was causing the colic. It was GI issues. Pressure your doctor for baby Pepsid. And realized that we needed to be closer to family. We moved halfway back across the country to be closer. The little man started to get a personality, started to learn and embrace the world, and my wife and I finally got back into a routine and an understanding of our new life. Wife and I had some really open talks during the first few months. I wasn't the only miserable one. Looking back, I am absolutely selfish for not thinking that she was also experiencing similar and even worse feelings than I was. But we got through it with really open conversations, and our relationship is stronger coming out of it. 11 months in, and we are now planning for a first birthday party with family, about to move into our new family home, and living in a city with a support group of other young parents with babies. It's just a different world from where I was mentally this time last year, and the kid is so much effing fun. He's taking his first steps, babbling, goes swimming with me every day, sleeps 12 hours a night, takes naps, eats food, and laughs at all of my dumb jokes. I honestly never thought that I would like him, and here we are. I would take a bullet for him. Anyway, my messages are always open for new dads going through postpartum depression. It is effing real. Do not let anyone tell you that you are not supposed to be feeling what you are feeling. My main piece of advice? Just genuinely give it time. Find what makes you happy for the first 4 to 6 months and do that thing. Your kid might not make you happy, and it's okay. Be patient and give it time. And now in the comments, I just wanted to say this post gave me clarity as I lay here wishing my colicky 5-month-old would just sleep for an hour before I go insane. It's been 5 months of my wife and I sleeping in separate bedrooms and generally living life like two zombies, while I've listened over and over to friends and family with newborns talking about their kids sleeping through the night at 3 months or sleeping all day so they catch up and get time to themselves then. Or just how quickly their baby responded to sleep training, etc., etc. I wouldn't say that I feel the same as you described in your first post, but I have a lot of those "what the hell have we done" and "my life is over" thoughts, with tonight being yet another challenging one mentally for me. Your follow-up post gave me a sliver of hope that this all really is temporary, and maybe I can make it through this without totally losing it. A little bit of peace in the chaos. Thank you. And OP replies, "Yup. We slept in the same room, but man did it feel like we were living separate lives for a bit. Try to hire some help and get some time to yourself and prioritize sleep training. We got him down to about 12 hours a night at 7 months, and he just goes to sleep now. It's amazing. You'll get through it. Don't feel bad about thinking about how much it sucks right now. And you know what's great? It gets even better. First words, first conversations, first sentences. So happy for you, my man. You stuck it out through the toughest bits, and here we are. PPD is a cow, but you survived it. Can you believe that in about a year, you might be so happy you'll think about having another one?" And OP replies, "Thanks for the kind words. We're going to start trying in the spring for the second." Sleep deprivation is no effing joke. I knew right away when he started describing how miserable and angry and hopeless he felt that at least 75% of that was lack of sleep. It's still a major lifestyle change, and adjusting would be hard anyway. But if he'd had an easier baby, he wouldn't have been such a wreck. People also really gloss over how unlovable a less than 3-month-old baby is. They are very loud slugs with very little personality and really aren't developed enough to reward you with the kind of oxytocin-boosting behaviors that you need to not feel insane. Heck, babies don't start making eye contact for the first 6 to 8 weeks. They are bottomless pits of need. Hormones are raging, so a lot of parents love their slugs so much. But it's really common for parents to struggle with bonding at first because that bond is so one-sided. I really think that humans weren't meant to raise babies the way most have to do today, with only 1 or maybe 2 adults to an infant. People used to live in more multi-generational households, so you'd have way more adults on hand who could help out with a newborn. Our next post is titled, "Today I effed up by donating blood with my dad." Sorry if this makes no sense. I'm dumb. My mom has sickle cell, so a few times I've donated my blood to her. I know my mum's blood type is A because I donate to her, and I know my blood type is O because, well, I donate. Today I just went to donate blood with my dad, just because, and I found out his blood type is AB. At first everything was alright, then I started thinking about what I learned in biology. In high school, I learned that if you have AB type blood, then you can't have a child with O blood. I was confused for a minute, but I just let it go because WTF? I started thinking about it again, and I looked it up. It says, a person whose genetic type is either AA or AO will have blood type A. Those with genetic type BB or BO will have blood type B, and those with genetic type OO will have blood type O. A child with type O blood can have parents with type A, type B, or type O blood, but not type AB. So yet again, I was confused. Is my dad really my dad? I'm really thinking about this and I want to ask my mum, but what good could it bring to start some mess up with them if I don't know for sure? Did my mum cheat on my dad? Am I adopted? Does my dad know? It's all so confusing. I hope I'm just wrong and paranoid, but I'm really thinking about this. I kind of want to ask my mum about it, but I don't want to get her mad. And now in the comments, there are weak variations of A and B that present as O when it comes to most antigen testing, but not genetic testing. I'm not sure how it affects donations. There is something called Bombay phenotype that overrides the A and B blood group antigens and presents as O unless you're specifically looking for it, but it's actually its own special thing. Someone else mentioned cis-AB, which means your dad's genotype might be CABO and his phenotype would be AB, and you could have inherited O from both your mother and him. So your phenotype and genotype would be OO. All of these would be uncommon, but not unheard of, depending on your background. If it's something like a weakly expressed A subgroup, then it might never be caught unless genetic testing occurs. If recipient anti-A can react with the weakly expressed antigen that the testing serum failed to detect, then we would pick up on it in the crossmatch. I would suggest either a DNA test, or bring it up with your mother first, on the off chance that it would start a fight before you got an actual answer. Also, it was a well-written post. You were certainly not dumb by my standards. I mean, most people I know wouldn't have even realized the blood types didn't line up. Ancestry DNA tests equals #1 cause of family feuds. People just love getting these things for significant others as Christmas gifts, it seems. It's like people actually want the drama. I'd say people being shitty equals #1 cause of family feuds, not people find out truth equals #1 cause of family feuds. Start the conversation and know your health history. Remember though that no matter what, your dad is your dad, and if he isn't your father, it doesn't stop him from being the person who raised you, bonded with you, and held you strong for these 19 years so far. If he's your bio dad, perfect. If he isn't, he is still your dad. Just gotta decide if you want to follow the biological footprint. Good luck regardless, OP. Hoping for the best. And now, onto the update. So I waited a couple of days, then just went to my mum and asked her when my dad wasn't there. I said something like, "Mama, I took a blood test with Daddy and found out he can't be my dad if my blood type is O." I didn't say that specifically, but something along those lines. She just looked at me for like 5 minutes, then it's like she fixed her mouth to say an excuse, but just told me the truth. She said her and my daddy were together, but my dad was messing with a lot of other women, so she started messing with somebody else too. She ended up getting pregnant and told Dad and the other man that she was pregnant and that she was going to take care of her baby regardless, but if they wanted to stay, they could. The other man decided to leave and my dad stepped up. When my mum had me, my dad didn't even care to do the DNA test anymore because when he saw me, he fell in love. They were together for real ever since my mum got pregnant and have just been each other's rock ever since. I still kind of feel a little hurt about it because my life is basically a lie. Not really, but they never really planned on telling me. They hid this from me, and I'm the only child my dad has who really doesn't even have his DNA. I guess not telling me was their way of protecting me, but it just opened up a lot of other doors. I love my dad still, and I wanted to reach out to the other man when my mum told me, but not so much anymore. My dad is my dad, and I love him the same, maybe even more. I'm glad that my dad chose to be here for me and raise me as his own. I really don't know if I'm the other man's child biologically, and I don't care to find out. I'm happy that I finally know the truth and can stop questioning why I am not my father's twin like my other siblings. I'm just kidding lol, but thank you for all the nice replies, advice, and suggestions on my original post. It means a lot. And now in the comments, funny enough, this is why my old high school stopped doing real blood type labs because kids kept finding out that they are adopted. Oh god! That's not funny. That's not funny. That's not funny. That's grim, that's tragic, it's a good reason to stop the blood tests. My teacher told us the same in high school. The district had done away with some of their blood-related labs because parents were complaining of it causing issues. We want you to teach our children to think critically, but not like that. In the middle of biology class is not the place you want to find out a family secret. When my kid came home from high school biology, he proudly announced that he had the rarest blood type, AB negative. I told him that was impossible, as I was O positive and his dad was B negative, so he needed a do-over. When the Red Cross had the blood drive, they told him it was B positive. Still have no idea how that first test went sideways. Ancestry DNA told me the truth. It's a kick in the pants to find out. I'm glad his mum told him the truth at least. This is pretty sweet, honestly. Something similar happened with my sister. Mum got pregnant with her after dating 2 different men, told them both, one left, and the other, my dad, eventually stayed. When Sis was born and was obviously physically not my dad's kid, he went, "Ah, she looks like me," to be silly, and the rest was history. Anyone can be a dad. It takes a real man to be a father. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.